self-reliance for women. So I just think of women back in the older days where they had to sew as a skill to make their clothing and to make warm blankets and all those kinds of things. So today we're working on the Thimble thread quilt block. Let's go ahead and switch the camera to the overhead view so you can see how we are going to assemble this. So just one moment. I have right here the thimble thread. Remember, we are making this quilt block as a large quilt block and also as a small quilt block. So you can see right here, this is for the Live Well, Live Strong quilt, and the Self-Reliant quilt block is right here in the quilt. So on Wednesday this week, we're actually going to have a tutorial on how to make the foundation paper piecing version. So the quilt is available in 60 by 60 inches, negative space, which is king, queen, twin, or whatever. And then you can see right here that these are the fabrics that I'm using, and I've had these bagged up. Can you see that? And this is how I organize my pieces for my quilt blocks. And I cut them out, and then I organize them in the little bags. And I wanted to show you this one right here, and you can see I actually have the wrong size, the wrong shade of blue. Hi Laura, it's good to see you. I'm sorry I'm a little late today, but I had to help Betty for a little bit until the nurse got there to do her wound care. So, but you can see right there that I actually have the wrong shade of blue. So we are actually going to cut that. So in the quilt, I use blueberry, and I use navy blue and denim blue. You guys can use whatever kind of fabrics that you're using. So if you purchase the Live Well, Live Strong quilt, we do have fabric kits for you in many different shades. And I just got some fabric that was out of stock. And the instructions for the Self-Reliant block is on page 8. So we are going to go ahead and cut the blue really quickly. So 2 7/8 and 1 1/2. So I'm going to set this back over here. So let me go ahead and just cut this shade right here for us. And we are going to, okay, here we go. I'm going to just go ahead and stack this. So I'm stacking my fabrics when I'm cutting. And I love using this ruler, and we do have these in stock at Stitches Quilting. If anybody is interested, I love this size of ruler. It's just not too heavy for me to be lifting all the time. So I really, really appreciate this one. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this over, and I'm measuring 2 7/8. When you use that, you're just going to use the eighth of an inch measurement on your ruler. So you can see there's 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch marks. So sometimes you just need an 1/8 of an inch. Okay, let's go back and let me look at that one more time. Always forget. Okay, let's put on my reading glasses here. Okay, and then 2 1/2. Okay, here we go. So let's go ahead and bring this back over. So we also have here, we have with the quilt can be made into a 60 by 60 inch, a king size, queen size, twin size, full size, and even so I'm going to go ahead and toss that fabric over there, and even a bud runner size. So that is like a brand new thing that we've got, and the teeny tiny foundation paper piecing size. So all of that is included in the original pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this one more time and one more time. So we're going to go ahead and take this over. We've got those. So I've got some new squares needed of that size. Now I'm going to take these squares, just trim it just slightly. I need 4 triangles on this. So the pattern says that we need, straighten that out just a little bit. We need 4 pieces. So when that says that, you are actually going to, and I'm going to just go ahead and cut this one more time, just so I've got extra pieces for other blocks. I might as well, because I'm always making additional tops in different layouts and things like that. I'm now going to stack these 4 pieces of fabric together, And I'm going to put my ruler from point to point on here, and then I'm going to cut them in half. So I actually cut 8 pieces right there. So now I have 8, but we really just need 4. So there's our 4. This is what we need for our quilt block today. We need 3 of these and 4 of that piece. I'm going to just shove these back into my little Ziploc bag. Okay, so let's go ahead and lay out this quilt block. This is how it is, and we're going to lay out the design of it. Okay, let's see who else is there. We've got Laura. Tell me where everybody is from, and tell me what you guys are doing. How are your holiday plans? Have you done some shopping? Have you done any baking? So this quilt block is about self-reliance, and it's really important that we feel self-reliant and that we don't feel super dependent upon others or things like that for our own existence. So we want to keep and continually build our self-reliant skills, and self-reliance gives us confidence. And as a woman out there, we all need confidence in our lives. So this is how we construct the block. We're going to actually put together these squares, and we're using half square triangles. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to string feed my half square triangles in that actually go into the corners. So let's go ahead and do some string feeding right there. I'm going to just line those up. I don't feel the need to use any pins. And let's go ahead and just put that in there. I always, oh, yes, Laura, I'm so glad you're there. What are you doing around this holiday season? Have you been making any kind of special dishes or anything like that? I am still up staying with Betty and Brant, so we're doing lots of good warm cooking, making a pot roast. We've made some tri-tip and did some actual grilling outside. And then Betty is actually Danish, and in their family they made lots of things called cleaners. A cleaner. Is anybody familiar with that? But it's like a little pastry that you make, and I have Betty's recipe. I've never made them before, but it's a really fun pastry that you make in Denmark, and I'm anxious to learn that little recipe. I've also made sure I purchased little chocolate advent calendars for our family too. But it's really wonderful to go ahead and to learn new skills as we are progressing along in our lives, because building new skills, even no matter what age we're at, it always feels good. And it helps us feel better about ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and press these over and open so that they can be used as our half square triangles on the corner of this quilt, on the 4 corners of this quilt block. So, and when I chose this thimble of thread as the quilt block for self-reliance for the Live Well, Live Strong quilt, it just really made me think about the women back in the day and the number of skills that they had to have in order to, be able to live. So sewing was definitely a skill that people needed back then. I've got someone calling me, and I'm going to just mute that because I don't need to be answering the phone right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and lay this out now with our half square triangles in place. There we go. Here we go. And hi, Delinda. It's so good to see you. It really is. I'm so glad to see you here today. And oh, okay, so Laura's been working on 8 Chanukah bibs for her new grandson's first holiday next week. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. He wasn't due till the 26th, so you thought you had a year. Oh my gosh. Laura, will you share a picture in the Everyone Can Quilt group? I really want to see what you're making. Or just, maybe if you have one made, or show a picture of the pattern that you're using. Oh my goodness, I tell you, when I love to sew for Ellie. She's my only granddaughter, so I love to make things for her and to do things. Thursdays are my day to hang out with Ellie. I'm now going to string feed these through, and and we're going to just lay them in there. So I totally agree. We strung lights up on Betty and Brant's house, and I did that with my husband this weekend. We actually strung up a tree, and this tree is it looks like a little Christmas tree. But the tree has grown through the years, and there were a lot of sets of lights on this tree, so we had to go in and extract the lights out of the tree because the tree had grown up and around it. And so we went ahead and we did that, and then we put new lights on it. We were able to rescue one strand that there were on there. So we actually, my husband loves to do lights. He's just a light kind of guy. So I'm going to go ahead and press these open here. So it's really fun to see all the lights out. I feel like there's more lights right now for the holiday season. And everybody's putting out lights and just spreading holiday cheer around, you know, the whole city. So I think it's really a lot of fun. I'm noticing more than I have in past years. I don't know if that's true where you live or not. And then Brant, he keeps saying they're going to wonder what that old man is doing, getting his house all strung up. So, you know, being 101 years old. So it's pretty cute. But they sure like when they go to bed at night looking out their front window and seeing that tree all lit up. It sure makes the soul feel good. Okay, back to self-reliance. There are things that we can do for self-reliance. We can learn ways to manage our money. You know, Betty, she still pays all the bills. She's 98 years old, but she still pays all the bills in that household, even to this day. And she's very capable. There's lots of other things that we can do for self-reliance. So, for example, this year, I inquired with some friends of mine, and they helped me learn how to garden. So I was really proud of myself that I actually grew some actual tomatoes and zucchinis and things like that. And that self-reliance really made me feel a lot better about myself and made me feel like, wow, you know, I can really make something work. And I learned a lot about the kind of the science of gardening. So there's lots of different things and skills that we can build as we are going along in life. And part of self-reliance also means being prepared and having things, extra things in our household so that we don't have to be too worried about maybe running out of toilet paper, right? That's always the big joke for 2020. So let's go ahead. We just have a couple more things right here. There, we also have the Self-Reliant Worksheets that you guys can download. And Self-Reliance, so I'll go over that for just a little bit. So there, we can do things like repurposing things that we own. For example, we found some beautiful ice skates up at Betty and Brant's house, and they would be just so beautiful in a holiday wreath, wouldn't it? To actually use some of the ice skates that they used as kids in a holiday wreath, or for a door hanger. So there's so many wonderful things that we can do to repurpose the things that we have. And that's a lot of fun, actually repurposing things. Let's go ahead and let me pull this a little bit farther. And I'm going to show you how I'm matching my 1/4 inch seams here. So let's go ahead and take this. I'm going to give that one more press. Well, I don't have to press that yet. But you can see my seams are all matching up. So let me give you some tips on matching those seams. Oh, good, Laura. I'm so glad. So you had the first big dinner for the first night of Chanukah, the roast and matzo ball soup. I love matzo ball soup. Latkes, potato pancakes, applesauce, Simmons. Okay, so sweet potato, carrots, pineapple in a glazed sauce. Wow, that sounds like quite the feast. I love it. I love it. Okay, so now here what I'm doing is I've got these two pieces to join. I have this piece right here, and I'm going to join this top of the thread right matching on top. So we're going to line those up, and I'm going to have my seam allowances go opposite ways, and I'm going to nest those seam allowances. So we're going to go ahead and put it like that, and I can feel as I'm pressing here that my seam allowances are nested. So we're going to go ahead and go right there, and then we want to kind of come over on this side and do the exact same thing. So we want to nest those seam allowances, and then that way our points will match up. So let me go ahead and get this one done on that side. The next thing that we're going to do to have our points match up is when we go ahead and we do our 1/4 inch seam allowance, we don't want to sew on this side where there's just a basic square, okay? We want to actually sew on this side so that we can see our 1/4 inch seam allowance of where we need to intersect our seams. So you can see the white thread right here on the gray fabric. One is coming up here at a 45-degree angle, and this one's going straight across. So when I stitch on this, I want to make sure I'm just right on the inside of that intersection right there. And same thing on this side. So I want to make sure that I'm hitting that intersection of my seams. And that's where I'm going to get my points to match up. So don't stitch on this side, actually stitch on this side where you can match your points. So it's good to go ahead and take a good look at that. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this through. And we're going to bring this other one through. I'm going to just match it a little bit better right there. I feel like I didn't get, I got a little wonky there, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and see what I did. I can feel that oh yeah, look at how wonky I went there. Look at that. With the thicker amount of thread, let's see if I can get a good angle of that for you guys to see. But I totally, with all of that bulk there, I went a little wonky and didn't get that quite straight. So I'm going to stitch on that one more time and make sure I've got a straighter seam. I should have shown you what that looked like open before I did that. Okay, let's go ahead and trim that thread off. Let's take out our pins, and I'm going to bring this over right here, and we're going to go ahead and press this in place, press this open, and that looks beautiful. So this is how you make a spool of thread, a thimble of thread, which I think represents self-reliance in our modern day too. So there are just so many things that we can actually do. And I am now going to trim my edges. This block, when it's finished, will be 6.5 inches square. So we do want to make sure that when we're trimming our seams that we've got our 6.5 inch square, because we are actually going to be matching this up to other fabrics. So I'm going to just take off all my little excess threads there, take off these little dog ears, and then that will give me just a perfect little quilt block. And let's go ahead and make sure we've got our 6.5 inches square right here. And I always square up my quilt blocks after I stitch them to make sure they are the exact size that I need in the final part of the quilt. Let's go ahead and move those off. Okay, so you can see we've got 2 quilt blocks right here. This next time on Wednesday, starts the night of the 10th and goes for 8 nights. Oh, how wonderful, Laura. I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and just look at our Self-Reliant worksheets real fast. So we want to avoid traps in our life from self-reliance. So, and we also do want to nurture our lives so that we can have sustained self-reliance. So we want to, and getting our needs to be met over time. We also want to make sure that we're shoring things up. So you can see right here with a plant, there's sometimes that we might need a support stake to guide our growth in life, so that we and then we also have to remember that that support stake may need to be taken out, so it also doesn't interfere with the tree's growth later on. So there's different times that we need to go ahead and have different support for us. The gift of time is the most beautiful gift that we have, and it's capital stock and of here on earth, and we want to properly use our time and manage our time so that we can have satisfaction and comfort and be wise and be productive. And of course we also need to have leisure, so we can't overdo it. Some emotional self-reliance is gratitude. So remember, you can have a physical self-reliance, but you can also have an emotional self-reliance. But in emotional self-reliance, you can work on gratitude, service, helping different ways to find help for ourselves, take responsibility for things that we do instead of blaming others, fix our problem if we are able to, and find resources when we are feeling empty. The self-reliance mindset for financially, we want to make sure that we have an income that's coming in. We want to make sure that we have a savings, hopefully, and then we want to make sure that we're spending less than what we need. So we want to spend less than the resources that we have and kind of always live within our means. So those are definitely some great tips on self-reliance. Let's go ahead and move it to the front camera. You guys, I'm so excited to work on self-reliance this week, and I'm excited to kind of focus on self-reliance and to work on some different goals. And so that's what I'm going to be working on this week. But on Wednesday, I'll be back, and we're going to go ahead and make the Self-Reliant quilt block in the foundation paper piece mini Live Well, Live Strong quilt. So you can see there's all this paper behind this quilt. I need to pick out the paper in order to quilt it, but I do want to do that as a video with you. So this is our Self-Reliant quilt block that is actually in the mini Live Well, Live Strong quilt. You can see the original Live Well, Live Strong behind me, and then these are the negative space. This is a 3-color gray one that is the bed runner, and then right over here we've got a pink version, not pink, it's a coral version, and that's a queen size quilt. So anyways, love you guys tons, and I can't wait to see you on Wednesday. And we will see you on Wednesday, and we will make the little foundation paper piece Self-Reliant Thimble of Thread quilt block. Have a good week, and I will see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you guys, and love having you and all your comments, Laura. Thanks so much.